Oh, what's your precinct number?
27441.
Okay.
-4441.
Okay.
It should be
There.
there. Okay, it's live.
Hello, thank you for joining our Revolution Washington Bernie Kratz Coalition vetting interview of Laura Fielding, who is the founder of Red Berets Medicare for All, and she is running for Precinct Committee Officer in the 27th LD Precinct 441, often shorthanded as 27441. And we're pleased to have you here with us. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in your community?
Hello. Well, thank you for having me. Oh gosh. So I have been newly inspired. Hello, Charlie. I've been newly inspired to get more involved in my community. I do a lot of work within my son's school. I very much believe that early education is very, very important, and we need to constantly put more effort there because that's where our young children, get inspired for the future. So we need to make, anyway, I'm going to get off track with that. But I wasn't very active in my community until fairly recently. I am a new activist, and so I'm consistently and currently finding new ways to get involved. But how I have gotten involved over the last 6 or 7 months was I just asked myself the question, what can I do as a mostly, I don't know, creative person and someone who thinks about health, because I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner by trade. I do craniosacral therapy and biodynamic massage. And that's another thing that, sort of another way I could veer off to say I'm interested in seeing how I could bring that in an affordable way. Because my thinking is how can I even offer these valuable things that I want to offer to the community when the vast majority or so many people don't even have basic quality, affordable health care. We have 500,000 Washingtonians currently without any health insurance, and more than double that who are inadequately insured. So it makes it difficult to kind of move holistic wellness out into the community fully, but that's something that I'm very interested in. But anyway, I started asking what can I do creatively about 6 months ago. I just started knitting these red berets and thinking, let's see if we can inspire people to march for Medicare for All. And I just started posting because I wasn't very well connected to the progressive movement. I know that I had supported and voted for Senator Sanders in the primaries, but I was not one of the activists that was involved. And so I was really out of the loop. But his message certainly has inspired me. And I think I'll probably get a chance to go back to this, but with my military background, I left my home state of Utah early on, right out of high school, because I wanted to go and, I don't know, just, I guess, find a community of people that I was raised in a place that didn't have a lot of diversity, quite frankly. And so I just knew that I needed to kind of get out. I'd never really felt like it encapsulated who I was. I think in order to find myself, like, ideologically and politically, I needed to get away. And the military, frankly, is a place that a lot of people that are middle to low income do go if they either don't have the means for higher education, or if they hadn't been particularly strong students and just think I need to go a different path. And that was the case with me. So yeah, I think I lost myself in that just a little bit, but oh, I know what I was going to say. Throughout all of that military service, a lot of it being spent abroad, and it was just 4 years active duty myself, and then 21 as a military spouse in the Air Force. But we spent 7.5 years in England. And frankly, I was always really ashamed to be an American. And I was ashamed really to be in the military, but it was the path that we chose. And I had a lot of people asking me while we lived there how it was okay with me that we had, so many people left uninsured. It's just unfathomable that two people that live in other countries that provide basic universal health care, that we have this cruel system that we have, our for-profit system. And I mean, it was just one of those things that I kind of muddled through and felt my bit of shame until hearing Senator Sanders' message. And that was the planting of the seeds that things could be different and that I would find some way, whatever my skill sets were, to say, I want to be part of this revolution. And it just took me some time to find, all of the strong progressive movement that's happening here in Washington State and across the country, through Red Berets, Medicare for All. So, okay, I'll stop there, let you ask some questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your precinct? What area it's in?
So I live in Hilltop, and I'm seeking even currently to do more within my community, because I've always been a little bit private or reclusive. But through the canvassing that I did do and events here locally, like the People's March for Medicare for All, which isn't right in my precinct, but I certainly, there was a woman that lives right here in my precinct. Her name's Alice, and she walks her dog by here every single day. And she took a petition for I-1600 universal health care. And she'd walk by every day and say, I got a few more signatures. I'm not there yet. But anyway, I kept telling her about the People's March on May 6th, Nurses Day. And she actually made her way down there and turned in her one petition. And I was so proud of her. I was like, that's so, I didn't canvass my whole precinct during I-1600. If we have another opportunity to do another initiative, I would thoroughly canvass every single house, which I plan to do here in the upcoming days. But, I'd probably say 4 to 6 blocks of my precinct that I did go and canvass. Probably of everybody that was home that answered, it was 9 out of 10 people that signed it with no problem. And I heard quite a few stories that just made me, very sad and rageful, but righteously angry, of people cutting their medications in half. And, some people saying, I just don't even vote. Like, they're just so disenfranchised. One person said, I don't vote. And he was adamant that was not a conversation that it seemed like he wanted to have at the time. But I think by and large, what I figured out is that quite a few people are disenfranchised, and they need first and foremost to feel the message of hope and empowerment that I'm saying that I got in 2016. And I feel that it's part of my role to help them feel that. That's the first step moving forward, is that there's some point to being part of the process and coming into the fold. So that answer the question?
That's pretty good. You're in the Hilltop area, and you've initiated contact with some of your neighbors, and you have more to go, and you plan to do that now in this race.
Yep.
And oh shoot, one of the thoughts I had. Well, what are your goals as a precinct committee officer?
Definitely to show up to our LD meetings, which I think are once a month. And I went last night and have already signed up for 2. I was very pleased to hear that the 27th has a strong emphasis on community organizing, because frankly, I'm somebody who I definitely consider myself to be very independent minded, and I have days where I question this whole strategy and feel that we need, a strong third party to rise up when the time is right. But that definitely we need to infuse the Democratic Party with strong progressives and with values. So yeah, I've signed up to volunteer at a couple of events, and so I guess my goal is to get people active, to sort of first go in the canvassing to ask, if you had one or two things that you feel you really need help with, if we could help give you a voice, or what needs to change, what would that be? And start building a committee. I just look at it and think, if I have roughly 300 households in my precinct, just looking at it and sort of thinking about I-1600 and what we passionate volunteers were out at events all the time. And if we would have just had, easily in 300 households, we could bring, and if that's not their key issue, healthcare, then we're going to find out what that is. And we'll, if it's to work on environmental causes and make sure that we have clean air and clean water, I'm going to find out who those people are and start developing subcommittees and leads for those, and for who can attend all of these events. And, we could do a lot with just one precinct. So that's the goal.
That's beautiful. I'm going to spring an idea on you that I talk about periodically with, I think I've said it in some vetting interviews before with a few people, but I think you're the first PCO candidate to talk to about this. But I am also a PCO, and one of the things I look forward to is combining that with community emergency response teams. And so I would like to get to know my neighbors well enough to know that if there is an emergency, who has mobility issues, who where our elderly, who lives alone and needs to be checked on. So there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot we can do that's not just party related, but that the party position might give us. I think it would make it easier. You're already door knocking, and then so what are your thoughts on that? Would you be interested in joining a team of precinct certs?
Absolutely. I think that sounds amazing. And just briefly, and this is not, but that just brings to mind like this one woman who actually, I got given a dishcloth on my canvassing efforts after I shared about the hats. This woman that was talking, about the cost of medications and not being able to afford them, but she gave me this little pink crocheted dishcloth, which that was fun, and that was neat. So these are the kind of connections that you make when you just take the time, and also when you go with kind of more of an open agenda, not an agenda, but an openness. Sure, I have things I want to share, but finding out about their lives. And I found out about a fall she had taken. And then a couple of houses down, there was a woman who, I don't think she particularly has mobility issues, but she's someone who it would be really neat to consistently check in on her and to like build that community, because when she heard about the knitting, it was like, I think she's a bit isolated, she said, I would love to learn how to do that. If you can come by and teach me sometime, I would really appreciate that. So again, it's just building that sense of community, that we're not in just all these houses, but there's somebody that lives literally 10 houses down across the street, who, lives a bit of an isolated life. She'd probably like to be involved, and that's all needs is someone to reach out and say, would you like to be part of our community? And do you need anything? Exactly, so yes, I would love to be part of something like that.
That's beautiful. And the closer to home we can build community, the easier it is for our community members to participate.
Yeah.
So thank you. And then Brian says there's a question from the audience. Brian, would you like to take that?
Yep. So first off, I apologize if I messed the name up, but thank you, Heidi Verthaler. She's a former Seattle resident, lived there twice. She's very concerned about the LNG 253 fracked gas refinery in the Puyallup tribal territories in Tacoma, Washington. Would you care to address that?
Yes. That is not something that I have, like I said, I'm very, very new to activism, and I haven't taken a lot of my personal energy down there because of getting so deeply involved with the healthcare. I'm somebody who, I mean, people will say, are you a single issue person? And we can't be. However, at the same time, I know myself to be someone who I have to choose a focus that I'm very strong in. But somebody who gathered signatures and would bring them over to my house, who's very, very active in our community and who I consider to be a really strong mentor, is Marilyn Kimmerling. And she is very, very involved in this issue. And so each time that, now that I'm not running this, what do you call it, sprint or marathon with 1600, I do look forward to reaching out to the strong contacts that I have that are taking these actions with trying to block LNG, because I think it's really, really important. It's just not something that I can say that I've done any direct action with, but I definitely have the people and the resources to direct people for how they can be involved in that action.
Excellent, Laura. Thank you. So one thing that I'm hoping people have learned about our group is that we are policy over party. We're policy driven. What we're hoping to do is link in all of the PCOs across Washington State to work together. So within the Democratic Party, there's resolutions to bring to the floor, and it has to do, kind of with the platform of the party. Are you open and willing to work with other PCOs? So as somebody's developing one, if we share it with each other, we can look at just changing some location issues or some minor details and then start pushing it that way. It comes more of a stronger push as a state as a whole.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I don't have anything to add to that because that was very well put.
We like yes and no questions sometimes because then we can move on. No.
One thing, so I'm also running. I was an elected PCO in 2016, but then I had to move. So I'm running again up here, and I do have a challenger as well. So I'm going to be door knocking too. But I'm also thinking of things to, like you said, it's a community. So I'm thinking of maybe, trying to look at, people coming together for ice cream socials or different things like that. Do you have any ideas of what might also be some good ideas to bring more of the community together?
I hate to go back to crafting or knitting, but it's yeah, I hate that. No, but I mean that was one thing that I really started to miss during I-1600 because we just needed the though I didn't consider myself a field organizer, we all were learning as we went along, and it was like the constant question that we kept asking ourselves or saying while we were clenching our teeth and fists was, we need more volunteers. We simply can't be in all of these events at all these different the same time. So I have really enjoyed over the last couple of weeks indulging in that, and I think it's something that in the particular in Waldorf education they teach the youth handcrafts. They do all kinds of handcrafts because it's just it's a way to really it's a really balanced method of education, and it also teaches them to be doers and to find, it's not just all on one level. Sorry, I'm not being very eloquent with that, but I'm a strong proponent of that type of education. And so anyway, the point is, I think there could be, especially in this day and age where we are constantly on, social media all of the time, and as being a parent, I'm always trying to find that balance of, am I letting them?
Speaking of which,
One sec. Speaking of which, he has a question. What's that?
And then that's all good because we're a very family friendly organization and we always have kids running around behind us. And that
Yeah.
shows people that we're real.
We're real people.
We're
And I'm like, shh. Yeah. So anyway, that is one thing. I mean, I definitely agree just because not everybody wants to get together and knit, but I also do think that there can be a multi-generational approach with that, because it is sort of a lost art. It is something that's very good for stress relief, for creativity, and we're searching for ways to become back involved with each other on an interpersonal level instead of just, ourselves or other. We have to really fight this impulse to be on social media all the time. So I would, definitely be excited about doing little classes or youth groups. There's the local community center down here in Hilltop, the Martin Luther King Community Center. So, and they do classes. It's just something that I could go and ask as a starting point. Hey, do you have any youth that would like to learn some handcrafts? But yeah, just also what you were saying, just maybe suggesting just something really easy, like getting together for some fun,
Right. I love that you think, because generational thing is right. My son actually really wants to learn and really get involved. He does little things, but he wants to actually learn how
Yeah.
to create and or knit. So I think that's beautiful, brilliant that you're thinking about the youth as well. So this whole thing about PCOs and things, and we're talking about working together. And how, maybe how we can build our communities to be ready to just jump on it when we get the chance again to get, I-1600, well, it'd be named something else, but through whole Washington, or initiatives for healthcare, or initiatives that we're really behind. So one thing I think that's going to really help build up that army is with being a PCO, is as we're building our committees. And that's what I want people to realize and remember too, is that we're supposed to be out there building committees, that we're working together. So it's not just on one person. And I've seen things like whole Washington, like trying to figure out numbers, like if everybody just gets 2 more volunteers and they do the same thing. So just think of what we can do by building like a good, strong committee in each precinct, on how much more powerful we could truly be with all the issues that we're fighting for.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being all in on that idea and working.
I don't want to find, on any of these issues, it's like if, I think a big thing, like guilt, I'm good with, old Catholic guilt raised that way, but to kind of like look, speaking of social media, and as I would be so much involved with I-1600, it would be looking at posts on LNG, or Marilyn Kimmerling coming by to the house to drop me petitions, and I would have this feeling like, how is she doing that? Because she's everywhere within the community, and even though and she would come and say, sorry, I only have 5 pages for you this week. And but I've just come down from LNG, and I've just been, and that's because she has truly built a community, and she's been an activist for many, many years. And so, I would just like to, through building just my own committee here in my precinct, I would like to feel that we have that deployable force for all of these different issues that are so important, so that in the future, if we run another initiative, or, there's another emergency call to action, none of us have to look and say, I wish I could be here there, but I have this and I have this, and oh, are there even 3 people that will be able to be down there? Oh no, actually we have 12 people, here that have expressed an interest to mobilize to go down to LNG, and they can, you know what I mean? So we do need to form these little subcommittees, and the way we do that is find out, as we canvass, what is your top issue or 2? What do you feel the most passionately? What do you feel is the most pressing need right now? Because we don't have, we can sort of choose one to be the most focused on. But as a precinct committee officer, I need to find out what is that pressing need for everyone in the precinct, and help them be in contact and have the resources to act on that. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Courtney.
So I love that you're very excited about the the local community action aspect. But part of a PCO's job is also voting endorsements and, like Rhonda was saying, putting forth resolutions, what have you. So just a few things off the top of the head. Campaign finance, to get an idea of maybe an indication of how you might vote on something. So endorsements, will you endorse people who take corporate money?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm struggling with anyway, ask the next question.
So that's okay. And let's see. Do you support free higher education? We'll pause for parenting.
I can't for this moment.
Hi, it's okay, Graham.
Hi, Graham.
Hi, Graham.
This face is there.
Where's Charlie?
Where's Charlie?
We've been working with Laura for a while through her Red Berets group.
Okay.
You know her.
Honey, come on now, please. All right.
Where's Charlie?
And I am local.
Charlie is
not on screen. Come here, boo. Fast.
okay, really fast, and then I will. Can you go out and visit the dogs?
Charlie!
She's coming.
She's coming. She's coming.
Okay.
How you doing on my house? How you doing on my house? How you doing on my house? I'm not done yet, Graham. I'm not done with your world yet, Graham.
Oh, okay.
These will be very engaged citizens in our political systems in the future, y'all. Just watch.
That's true. I have a Medicare sign that he made for me that he took.
I don't see anything, but you're not using
Okay.
it. I saw you were done with a secret.
I've even got 3 on my end that love wearing the berets. So yeah, it's all mutual. We got future voters in the making.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the local candidates, this is not their interview, so I will just use the idea, wants to make an example, legislative district meetings, LD meetings, or county meetings, whatever, more family friendly, to make it more easily inclusive for parents.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. It's probably a big reason why more people are not politically engaged, and that's one part of being inclusive. Absolutely.
Parents shouldn't have to be, shouldn't feel embarrassed when they have to pause to parent.
No, that's absolutely right. Thank you for.
Yeah.
Time to change the narrative again.
Okay.
Yep. So, so you support higher education? Let's see, private prisons?
No, I do not support private prisons. I'm absolutely for ending private prisons.
Okay, Rhonda, a couple off of the top of your head to get a feel.
Oh, what do you feel about the anti-corruption laws? So one thing, of course, that people I'm part of is Represent Us. We work on the American Anti-Corruption Act, and it really is starting at the local level. And we do resolutions to start pushing them through, but we usually look more like at city, county. But actually, I would like to work on one through the PCOs on up too, through the DEM system, because the more people we get behind this ideal, the better. So we really work on getting corruption out of politics, money out of politics, election reform, so like ranked choice voting. How do you feel about those? And would you be an advocate to help push those resolutions through your local party?
Absolutely. And in thinking about the canvassing, I want to make sure, I'm going to have to be succinct, but I want to make sure that I'm going to every single household. And if I feel immediately, or if somebody just tells me, I'm voting conservative or I'm a Republican, that's absolutely going to be the next go-to that I'm going to say, because I shared that video that you posted. It's just such a phenomenal organization and video. I share those kinds of things with my family, who, a lot of members of my family are Republican. And I believe among healthcare also, but that tends to be a little bit of a divisive issue, even though we need to work to educate on that narrative. But I did it on the 4th of July. I talked to the veterans of Tacoma. I forget the exact name of their organization, but I have it here. But they knew what I talked to them. They gave me a sticker, and they weren't going to sign I-1600, but I started talking about the Anti-Corruption Act and about this need to get corporate influence and all of this corruption out of our political process. And that's when they said, fine, I'll sign your petition. I didn't even have to, I'd sort of like abandoned I-6. I was, oh, that's a loss, especially when I mentioned Bernie. And it was like, they said, oh, Bernie, and then I started talking about, well, what are we going to do? We have to get the money out of politics or we're never going to get anywhere. And it's absolutely making every single decision for our lives that affect all of us, no matter what side of the political aisle or independent, wherever we are. So it's deeply important. And yeah, they were like, well, I totally agree with you on that. I wish more Democrats would say that kind of a thing. And it's like, yeah, that's the unifying platform. Definitely that's the fundamental.
Oh, thank you for understanding that and pushing that narrative. It really will change, I think, what we have going on now. I had something else, but I forgot. So I'm going to let Courtney take it.
I saw Brian's hand, so I will defer.
So first off, I want to thank our wonderful audience. We've actually got some engagement in the chat. And for one, Savvy says hi to you, Laura. From
Hello,
Georgia.
Savvy. Hi, Georgia. Hi, Savvy.
And Sarah Hansen, I wanted to let you know that thank you for what you do. She said Laura Fielding is the reason I taught myself how to crochet. So I wanted to put that out there.
I didn't even know that, Sarah. Wow. And then you made, Sarah made the red beret. Maybe I'll post the picture of my mom again, because it was the one, I think it was the one picture that I took on May 6th on National Nurses Day. And, Tamara Fisher-Bird and Sarah, you both had brought your donation of red berets to the event, and we were laying them all out on the table, but there was so much going on. And I had my eye on that one there was one that you had knit that was very like Rasta. And anyway, my mom picked it up and said, I don't have one yet. And I was like thinking, get your hands off of that beret. That's for me. But she chose it and it looks great on her. But anyway, I did not know that. So thanks for sharing that, Sarah.
All right, Courtney.
Well, just to talk about your hat, it is magnificent, and I understand it's handcrafted by you. And quite frankly, it makes me giggle because I know it stands for Medicare for All. MF is so often shortened for something else. And I know that, as a grassroots activist, you can feel frustrated. So just a little nod to maybe an unintentional expression of some of the frustration we might have trying to rally the troops.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, good.
And I would like to learn how to felt. I know how to crochet, but my wrist hurts too much to do it. So felt is next.
Yes, there's so many mediums we have yet to explore. It's what's exciting.
So are there any other questions?
No, I'm good.
All right. We are intentionally trying to make the PCO interviews a little bit shorter than our slightly plus interviews that we often have with higher. I don't like to put them in a hierarchical level, but in more influential positions, LDs and state level races and stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to say about yourself and your race and what we can do to help?
What I do want to add is that made me think last night of the 27th LD and being asked by one of Representative Kilmer's staffers if he could go canvassing with me, because he asked if I liked Representative Kilmer. And I said, I have voted for him in the past. And then I said, but you just heard me introduce myself and say that I feel very strongly on healthcare and many other issues. And hey, can you, Graham? So anyway, so I said, if he will co-sponsor HR 676, maybe we can talk at that point. But until then, I'm supporting Tyler Vega. So yeah, I just wanted to say, and now I'm too distracted because Graham's running around. I think I want to close with that. Yeah, it is just PCO, but I really appreciate this interview because I feel like look at again I-1600. But it's what I have to talk about for now with the length of my activism, and what we accomplished with just a few, like our number was so small for as far as people that were deeply involved with getting a lot of signatures. And if we're talking about 300-ish, 250 or 300 households, the potential is very large if we really manage to inspire strong progressive activists to run for PCO and to hopefully win. So I guess I will say the party has a lot to prove to me, and I'm entering this race to prove that we can stand for something within the Democratic Party. And I'm going to need everybody's help in order to do that, because I need some convincing as well. But I definitely believe that it's worth a strong shot because I put everything that I had into I-1600, and I know that with just the grassroots from the bottom up, lots of change is possible.
Thank you. Excellent. And, I hear you say it's just PCO, but I want to remind you that we are the foot soldiers. We are the rallying call. We are the boots on the ground. And as our friend Robert Sayacom, who is a Puyallup tribal member, said, PCOs are the tip of the spear.
Yes.
So
that's lovely.
We, by increasing PCO participation, we influence local politics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I look forward to helping to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us here. We'll go off live here.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you very much. Thanks for everyone who's been watching and participating. And thank you for the interview.